Welcome back. So, Northern California photographer is sharing video that he captured of a rare fox that lives in the Sierra. The endangered Sierra Nevada red fox population is thought to be under 30 living in the Lassen area. That's according to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, making it, as you can imagine, very difficult to spot one, let alone photograph one. But that is what wildlife photographer Randy Robbins accomplished after years of attempting to capture a picture of the endangered species. And this morning, he joins us now live from his studio in Susanville with how he did it. Thank you so much for joining us.
What just happened? When I started trying to get a photo of a Sierra Nevada red fox in 2022, I would have never thought that the story of me trying to get a picture would go national or would ever be on a news station or be picked up by USA Today, for crying out loud. It's been a whirlwind the last couple weeks. So I wanted to address that, talk about how cool it is for one thing, and maybe like hit on a couple of the comments that people are making. I mean, anytime something goes big news-wise, the comment section just brings out the absolute worst in humanity, I think. So there's some of that happening. I wanted to clarify. It's clear people have questions, but people also think that they know everything. So it just comes out like everybody's dumb but me. So it's, you know, they're crying out on the inside, I think, for answers. So here's what happened. I posted that last video. Now, when I was in the field, when I was out there looking at my trail cam, I could not tell how special, I guess, that footage was. I knew I got a fox. I knew it was daylight. I knew I could see it. I did not realize that it was 3.5 minutes of just capturing fox's behavior and having it curl up on that rock and go to sleep and just hanging out. That footage is extremely rare, and it's not something I don't think anybody else has gotten. I shared it with the biologists who have done the hard work of conservation with this species, and they were blown away also and said it's very special footage because it shows behavior. It just shows, it's not a fleeting glimpse of a fox running across the screen, which is kind of what you usually get. So I clearly did not know when I posted that last video how great it was. I got home and looked at it and thought, wow, like this is special. So when I threw it in my last episode, it almost, you know, was kind of a shock because it went from like, ho-hum, me in the woods again, to like, here's the most beautiful footage of this fox ever. I posted the footage by itself on my Facebook page, and it started getting shared. So what happened? Well, I did not submit the footage to anybody. It got shared on Facebook. The right eyeballs saw it, and a couple of days later, I had a message from KCRA News in Sacramento. I appeared on their little morning show, and the next day I had an email from USA Today. I had a licensing agreement offer. It was on from that point. I shared the footage in a couple places. For me as a photographer, I'm still thinking this is trail cam video. It's not what I'm after. It's great. It's, you know, kind of gravy though, as far as what I'm going for is my photo. So I've been pretty generous with sharing the footage because I think it's great for getting the word out about this species. So I've been pretty generous with it. I will probably make a little bit of money on this because of a licensing agreement that I signed. It won't be a lot. It won't be like, you know, a big deal. But I think it's been amazing to have this opportunity to sort of get the word out about this species and advocate for them and for their conservation. Because like I said in the news interview, this is the first year the southern population of these animals has been monitored for 16 years, and this is the first year that there's no federal funding for that. So citizen science stuff like what I'm doing is pretty important, and to have it take off, to have media pick up on it and make it a big deal is just a blessing. It's been awesome. So thanks for your part in that, for sharing that footage and all that. So with that comes a whole bunch of questions, a whole bunch of comments, and a whole bunch of people not understanding what they are looking at. So I screenshotted a few comments because they're hilarious. One of the common refrains in these comment sections has to do with how rare these foxes actually are, right? People say, you know, we have quite a few around here. I see them from time to time. I've seen half a dozen over the past 10 years killed on the road. We see them all the time. Not rare, right? People just love that comment. So that's one comment I wanted to address. Here's a map, okay? Because people love to think that they saw these foxes. What people don't understand is that a red fox is not a Sierra Nevada red fox, right? So I'm going to put a map on the screen that shows a few things. This is the historic range outlined with the black line of the Sierra Nevada red fox. When it was at its height, living everywhere it wanted to live and thriving, this is pretty much where we think they lived, right? So you're talking high elevation, Sierra crest, and Cascade crest up into Oregon. Outside of this line, they never lived, even when there was millions of them, right? So most of the comments saying I see them all the time are out of the elevation range where these animals want to be. Also on this map, you see little octagons, little tiny, like a grid. These are areas that have been surveyed for Sierra Nevada red fox between 1990 and 2020. So you can see the turquoise, the bright spots are where these foxes were actually detected. That's either finding scat and DNA testing it, seeing them on a camera, having a dog sniff out. There's trained teams that are detecting these animals, detecting scat and those kinds of things, and then testing it with DNA analysis. So we do have a pretty darn good idea of where these foxes are and roughly how many of them there are. There is a number being thrown around on these news stations that says there are 19 to 39 remaining in the wild. People love jumping on that, saying, who are these idiots making up numbers? They don't know. There's way more out there than we think. That number is specifically related to the southern population, which is the Sierra population on the map you were just looking at, down south. All right, so that is actually a little bit incorrect in relation to my footage. A news station will look it up, and on the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, they will see Sierra Nevada red fox listed as endangered, 19 to 39 left in the wild. That is because the southern population in the Sierra, Sonora Pass area, are the only ones that are actually on the endangered species list. It's kind of complicated. They took the whole species and they divided it into a northern and a southern population. So the Cascade foxes and the Lassen foxes are in the northern population. The Sierra foxes are in the southern population. Those guys got federally listed because of human encroachment into their habitat. The northern foxes did not get listed. There are still very few of them. They should be listed, but they're not on the endangered species list. So the 19 to 39 number is the estimated population based on DNA analysis, scat and camera surveys, more information than the average, dude on their computer has. That's the number they think roughly for the southern population. The Lassen population that I got on my cameras, they think there are roughly 30 or less in the Lassen area. All right, so similar numbers. It's a tiny little population of these foxes. But so add that up, they're guessing there's 70 or less in the state of California. North of California, there are similar small populations in Oregon. From the Mount Hood area in the far north, all the way down to about Crater Lake is the southernmost population in Oregon that has been detected. There are tiny pockets, and no, they don't know exactly how many of these things are out there. Nobody claimed to know exactly how many are out there. We know there's very few of them out there. What people think is that a red fox is a red fox is a red fox. What other people think is that a gray fox is a red fox. So there's just mass confusion among people about what they're looking at. Quick history on the red fox. Scientists think, in the Ice Age, foxes migrated from Eurasia over the land bridge to North America. All right, it was one giant red fox party in North America. As the Ice Age receded, these foxes who loved high elevation, cold alpine terrain got isolated, and they became what we now know as the Rocky Mountain red fox, the Cascade red fox, the Sierra Nevada red fox, and yes, even the Sacramento Valley red fox. All right, those are all different subspecies of red fox. Most of them are doing just fine. All right, there are Rocky Mountain red foxes all up and down the Rockies. You can go to Yellowstone and see 5 of them tomorrow. It's not a huge deal. Cascade red foxes in the north, same deal. Over the years, because of hunting and trapping and all that, these populations got smaller and smaller. Additionally, imported foxes, eastern red foxes that live on the East Coast. People see red foxes in the Appalachians. Eastern red foxes are slightly different. They were raised in fur farms in the West and sometimes released or escaped and have infiltrated other species of foxes. The Sacramento Valley red fox is suffering from this really bad. There is a small population of native Sacramento Valley red foxes, but import foxes have infiltrated that population. That hasn't happened with the Sierra Nevada red fox because those guys don't want to hang out at 9,000 feet elevation with the Sierra Nevada red fox. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit of the population. If you're seeing a red fox, doesn't mean it's a Sierra Nevada red fox. Here's some pictures of some gray foxes, which we have all up and down the Sierra at roughly the elevations where people like to live. And people see these in their yards all the time, right? People think that they're red foxes because they have red on them, right? Gray foxes have a very light reddish chest and legs very often. This is what they look like. I see them all the time. It's not news that you saw a gray fox, right? Gray foxes always have a black tip on their tail. Red foxes always have a white tip on their tail. Hopefully that clarifies a little bit. If you saw a fox, it probably wasn't a Sierra Nevada red fox for all those reasons. Another comment people love to mention is that now that I've disclosed this location, sure, why don't you advertise it so somebody can go kill them? Good job. A lot of comments along those kind of veins, right? I see that a lot. First of all, these foxes need the media attention right now. It's public information where they are. This is a national park, okay? It's not like people are out there setting traps and selling the pelts of these foxes that they caught in a national park. People are capable of horrible things, but it's more important right now to get the word out about these foxes for conservation efforts. So no, I do not think that I should be concerned at all about people running out there and killing him. It took me 3 years to get this footage. You think these people are going to put in that kind of effort to go kill this fox? And no, they're probably not that much better of an outdoorsman than I am, and they're not going to be able to go find him tomorrow. Okay, so I'm just dismissing that comment, even though it's irritating. The other super popular comment is regarding wolves, because people want to make this the most political thing in the world. Wolves love to eat those endangered foxes, but we won't talk about that fact. Also, they ain't endangered. Like they put them on the endangered species list on accident, right? Also, they ain't endangered at all. Got tons of them out here. College educated idiots couldn't find their with both hands. Prime example is the mountain lion. Okay, this rant makes no sense, but people are trying to say wolves in California should be dead, right? We shouldn't have wolves because everybody who likes wolves is an idiot. Okay, you don't have to like wolves. There's a lot of drama there. There's political stuff there. I understand. Wolves don't eat these guys. Wolves are actually considered to be good for these guys. First of all, wolves don't hang out at the elevations where Sierra Nevada red fox hang out. Wolves might eat red foxes all the time, but again, there's a lot of red foxes that are not Sierra Nevada red foxes. But most of the time they don't. They don't predate on foxes. Wolves eat deer and elk and cows, which is why people hate them. Wolves are considered to be great for these Sierra Nevada red foxes because the wolves will drive down the coyote population. One theory on why these foxes have not rebounded and are not doing that great is because of competition with coyotes for the same food sources. Coyotes, in the absence of wolves, since we killed all the wolves in the 1920s, coyotes have exploded their populations and they're living in areas where they didn't live before. They're moving up to higher elevation and they're competing with these foxes for food. I've gotten coyotes on my cameras in Lassen Park in elevations where they shouldn't be, where Sierra Nevada red fox like to hang out. The wolves will drive down the coyote population as wolves reintroduce themselves to California. So the whole, like, the wolves are gonna eat them all, you idiots, why did you reintroduce wolves? A, we didn't reintroduce wolves. B, no, they're not. So that's another comment that has been kind of shared around everywhere. I just wanted to get all that information out there, and I also wanted to say thank you for those of you who are not ranting on Facebook but are sharing this story and helping to get the word out. I feel like I'm in a unique spot to sort of advocate for the conservation of these animals, and man, I still want my photo. A couple of the news stories have gotten it right and explained when they've given me a chance to sort of answer their questions. This is trail cam footage. I'm using trail cams to try to figure out where to set up the real cameras. And I cannot wait to get back up there this week and see if I got anything on that camera trap. I'm gonna go back in with another camera trap. I'm gonna set it up in a similar area, I think right there nearby where I got this footage. I don't see why I would go anywhere else. This does appear to be a bit of a hot spot. So it's still on. What's gonna happen now, that's a bummer, is I'm gonna get my photo eventually, and nobody's gonna care, because this trail cam footage is what everybody thinks I was after. It's done, good job, you did it. And it's, you know, it's not an image, it's not printable, it's not what I want. So I'm gonna get the photo and I'm gonna be like, hey, I got my photo, and it's gonna be crickets from the media, obviously, because they've already shared this story. But that's not the point. It's good for these foxes that the word got out. So I just wanted to address all the attention, because it's crazy to think that, you know, 3 years ago when I set out by myself into the woods to try to get a picture, that it would ever turn into something like this. So thanks for tagging along, and we'll see you out there.